Roommate Showdown, the checklist that shattered our lease. When my Pyrex container resurfaced in the fridge as a swampy chicken science project, I finally snapped. I binned the biohazard. She erupted, talking trash on speakerphone. And our simmering drama boiled over into a screaming match about trash bags, rent, and respect. I decided on the spot to escape and spent lunch touring the dream apartment I had bookmarked for months. Did you at least light a candle after that chicken funeral? Not even an air freshener would have saved the smell, but the aftermath was worse. The next morning, she hammered on the bathroom door, demanding her non-existent trash bags and announcing that I was unbearable. I calmly replied she could stop using my supplies entirely, packed my sanity, and marched to the leasing office where the clerk spelled out 3 escape routes. We both agreed I would drop off the lease if she proved she could cover rent, which bought me just enough peace to sign my new lease across town.
Bet she ghosted those pay stubs the same way she ghosts dirty dishes, huh?
Exactly. 3 polite reminders from management and 2 texts from me later. She suddenly declared she cannot send them, then threatened to torpedo both our credits by breaking the lease outright. I politely wished her luck and booked movers for dawn. Tomorrow, I hand over keys, pick up coffee, and watch from a safe distance while she decides whether to grow up or go down with the ship, because my new place has 0 drama and a pool. A story from Pretty-Story-9024. Former owner crashes our backyard after 2 years for a package. 2 years ago, my husband and I paid top dollar for a cozy suburban house and waved goodbye to the sweet couple who built it. They gave us their numbers, saying, "Call if the pool gizmos act up," and that was that, or so I thought. For months, a random parcel would still show up with their name, and I would snap a photo, text them, and either leave it on the porch or drop it off. No big deal. It happened about twice a year. Nothing to fuss over.
But you never told them to change the shipping address? You just played neighborhood post office.
True, and maybe that was my mistake. Because this holiday Friday, I was sipping wine in my next-door neighbor yard when the former owner rolled up, saw my parked car, and instead of knocking, enlisted the neighbor kid to yell through a 6-foot fence for me. I walked over, confused to find him waiting at my front door, like he still owned the place, demanding his latest Amazon box. That feels less like a favor and more like a trespass on your peace. I later noticed the wife had texted asking if her husband could swing by, but I had not seen it. When I politely explained that showing up unannounced and summoning me from another yard was inappropriate, she exploded, calling me miserable and indecent. Now I wonder if protecting my space was rude or simply overdue. A story from middle_afternoon_504. My Japan trip turned into a month of silent exclusion. I touched down back home after 30 days threading Japan's immaculate streets, still tasting the matcha foam and herring temple bells, but what refuses to fade is the chill of being politely erased. Friends keep texting for giddy stories about bullet trains, neon arcades, and the chef who torches sushi with a flamethrower. Instead, I replay 100 moments when courtesy glided right past me like the automatic doors at Shibuya that sense everyone else but stall when I step forward. The country looked postcard perfect, yet almost daily, my dark skin seemed to speak louder than my studied Japanese phrases. What subtle cuts could dim even flaming sushi and cherry blooms in spring? Start with Nagano. The ski town was postcard quiet powder snow framing cedar roofs. Inside a tavern, I joined a communal table, bowed and ordered in polite Japanese. Within a minute, the locals requested new seats. The waiter placed my donburi, wordless, the bowl landing with a thunk that splashed broth, then pivoted to showcase a smile he had saved for 3 European hikers. That script replayed city after city. In Osaka, we waited outside a famous okonomiyaki spot. Staff scanned the line, met my eyes, announced the kitchen was closed 2 hours early, then ushered fresh-faced tourists straight inside. In Tokyo, I heard a server direct a Japanese couple to free sencha, yet stayed silent with me despite speaking English moments earlier. Seeking directions at Namba Station earned a mocking laugh and wrong instructions that sent me 10 minutes the wrong way. Even restrooms became audits of belonging as staff tracked my every step while the room stayed nearly empty. Blogs promised future tech and endless hospitality, but I mapped an old prejudice wrapped in perfect silence.
Could you be reading too much into regional quirks and tourist fatigue?
I kept score unwillingly. 29 cold welcomes, 16 sudden service rule changes, 9 false directions, countless vacant stares. Statistically, that feels designed, not accidental. The weight followed me onto the plane heavier than souvenirs. Now, when I scroll smiling drone shots of Japan, I wonder whose lens is missing from that glossy reel. Stay with me and I will pull back the curtain on how a nation famed for humility can still carry a hierarchy of hospitality that many visitors never notice until they walk in my shoes. A story from I-procrastinate-sleep. She kept testing me until her fake pregnancy broke us. Picture this, 4 months into what felt like the easiest romance of my late 30s, and my girlfriend starts dropping secret pop quizzes on how devoted I am. First she asks for a solo weekend, then later scolds me because I respected her wish. I can sense invisible tripwires everywhere and my stomach stays in knots. I am feeling anxious just listening. What made you realize these tests were more than simple insecurity? This weekend, she detonated the mother of all gotchas. She messaged me with shaky emojis, said the condom tore, and insisted she was pregnant. I kept calm, told her we would sort it out together, even assured I would support every decision. Hours later, she laughs and admits it was an experiment to see if I would bolt. In that instant, any hint of trust drained away, because love that needs staged crises is not love at all. It is performance art, with my sanity as the ticket price.
Of course she blames you now. People who set traps rarely own the damage when the prey walks off unscathed.
I told her it was over and wished her well, yet my phone keeps lighting up with novel-length messages insisting I am the quitter. Maybe I am, but I would rather quit a maze of manipulation after 4 months than lose myself in it for years. If trust is the test we both just failed, yet I am finally free to study my own heart again. A story from OK-Amphibian-5171. He arrived in uniform, and the birthday dinner exploded. My 12-hour control room marathon ends with 2 parents screaming that their baby has turned blue while every ambulance is miles away. After 90 frantic minutes, I secure help, then dash in uniform to my sister-in-law's fancy birthday dinner, 20 minutes late and running on fumes.
So your big heroic hotline act trumped a quick change of clothes?
I bite my lip, apologize, and refuse to detail the call with an 8-year-old at the table. But brother-in-law barks that I am flexing. Sister-in-law adds that her birthday is not about my special job, and the shock drags hot tears from me. Friend, they demanded your presence, then mocked the cost? That's classic moving goalposts. Now, my partner wants me to grovel, claiming I weaponize stress. Yet my gut says I honored lives on a phone line and only broke when family trivialized them. I am stuck deciding whether to swallow pride or stand by my tears. A story from expensive_log_6636. Sweet revenge. Laxative chocolate exposes host family thief. I was 16 when Aiko, a sunshine-spirited exchange student from Osaka, floated into our sleepy high school and then straight to Sunday roast at my parents' table. Her English was melodic, her gratitude endless, and her smile so infectious, even my moody brother grinned. Then, weeks later, her glow dimmed. She confessed half-eaten souvenirs vanished from her room, while her hosts snickered, calling her paranoid. Empty wrappers kept appearing like mocking notes slid under her door each dawn. That is heartbreaking. She crossed an ocean for warmth and got thieves instead. Dad listened, brown knitting, then vanished to the pharmacy. He returned dangling a glossy blue bar of X-Lax like it was contraband treasure. Together, we unwrapped Aiko's pristine gift chocolate, slid the laxative squares inside, and resealed everything with a hair straightener. Aiko slipped the booby-trapped bundle back onto her dresser and acted normal. First night, nothing. Second night, still. By the third, she woke to missing chocolate and distant footsteps thundering to the upstairs bathroom.
Bet those footsteps turned into a marathon sprint of regret.
Aiko peeked out just in time to see the teenage daughter gripping her stomach, streaking down the hall every 10 minutes. The symphony of flushes lasted a full day, and nobody linked the misery to their midnight pilfering. Aiko finally laughed again, a small, victorious giggle she carried back to school. We never told a soul, but every time I see chocolate bars lined up at a checkout, I remember how justice sometimes comes with sprinkles. A story from Twinkletoes 0804.
Photo shoot ambush. His lifelong friend targeted our marriage. Back when my ex slept with his best friend, I vowed never to ignore red flags again. So when my husband's friend from childhood named C always talked around me and skipped every cookout, I noticed but stayed polite. Then she sent me a sudden message asking if I would model for her final photography project. I felt a surge of hope that she wanted peace, and my husband happily volunteered to join, excited to catch up with her. Hope is powerful, but did you feel safe walking into her space? The minute we reached her family's mansion, her mother draped an arm around my husband and called him son-in-law. During the shoot, his name was drenched in nostalgia while I posed under the lights. They joked about the wedding they expected him and C to share, how C always pictured that first dance. C just clicked the shutter and snarled. I felt like a prop in their alternate reality, my skin prickling with every flash.
Your silence lasted an hour? I would have walked out after one insult.
I kept my smile on until she got her final frame, then left. In the car, my husband whispered sorry and admitted it was bizarre, yet he never challenged then. I am tired of being gracious to a woman who treats me like a stand-in. Next time, I will not freeze. The showdown is coming, and I will set the rules for our marriage, not her wistful family album. A story from Anxious Femme 12. She blocked the bus stop with her truck. Now guess who paid $800? Picture me, a tattooed California transplant, pushing through freezing drizzle in small-town Oregon, while smug sidewalk moms stay warm in SUVs. Their loud ringleader roars up daily in her monster pickup, blocking the narrow corner where the bus collects our kids.
She really parks on the sidewalk like it belongs to her?
I tried friendly Oregon nice and asked her to scoot. She smirked. Big truck. Deal with it. The next snowy morning, she did it again, so I called the non-emergency police line. Minutes later, an undercover black Tesla slid up. The officer found kids climbing unbelted inside and wrote hefty tickets, plus a warning about endangering pedestrians. Ouch, nothing melts ice faster than flashing lights. She doubled down, got caught once more, and by the time the gossip mill churned, she owed $800 and had swapped the chrome beast for a tired gold Honda. Now she drives past glaring, while my kids and I stroll the clear sidewalk, grinning at our quiet victory. A story from various_olive_5072. Bromance or secret bond? My husband's unusual friendship has me worried. Ever since I packed away my office blazer to chase our 2-year-old around the house, Derek has been my window to the adult world. He comes home laughing about bar bets and inside jokes, yet nothing lights his face like the mere mention of Dylan, the friend he has clung to since grade school. They meet 2 or 3 nights a week, share playlists, share dreams, and when they greet each other, the air hums like they are plugging into a hidden power socket I cannot access. You sound invisible in your own living room. What tiny moment finally flipped the switch from shrug to full alarm? It happened at my mom's birthday brunch. Someone called them brunners, and Derek recoiled like the word was an insult. Later, he announced a guy's trip, only for me to learn through a mutual friend that the entire roster was just Dylan. That night, while he showered, curiosity bulldozed my guilt, and I opened his phone. No flirty hearts, no secret photos, just a flood of check-ins, I miss you texts, and one thread where Derek canceled movie night so he could surprise Dylan with soup because he caught a cold. acts of care he never reserves for me.
Maybe he is just the caregiving type with everyone except himself. Are you sure you're not rewriting friendship as betrayal?
I keep rehearsing a calm conversation where I say, I love your heart, but I need a bigger slice of it. Yet the fear of sounding petty or homophobic silences me. Meanwhile, each unanswered ping on our couple chat feels like a fresh reminder that the epic story of Derek and Dylan might be the real love letter, and I am only the afterword. I have to choose between confronting the truth or letting suspicion corrode what is still good. A story from Kooky Veterinarian 599. My boyfriend's body part makes me gag. 4 years into bliss, I was convinced my relationship with gentle, animal-loving Evan was straight from a rom-com, until a sudden epiphany hit me in the shower last week. I realized I am genuinely repulsed by the sight, taste, and texture of any penis, including his. Wait, you adore everything about him except the part designed for fun? I have tried birthday favors, white-knuckled swallows, and pep talks from friends. But each attempt ends with me gagging like a kid forced to eat raw broccoli. And the guilt is crushing because he reads every grimace as doubt about my feelings.
Sounds less romance, more sensory phobia mixed with old shame.
So now I am debating a brave sit-down talk to explain the phobia, seek therapy, or even rethink my own sexuality, because if I cannot touch what he treasures, our fantasy future could crack wide open. A story from Apprehensive Resort 99. Nursery form chaos, why I refused my toxic stepdad. At 12, I watched Mom fall head over heels for a man who decided I was an unwanted extra. He tossed me outside when he forgot to leave a key and made sure every holiday ended with me in tears on a friend's sofa. Fast forward a decade and a half. I finally have the tiny family I always dreamed of. My 2-year-old son, a nursery place, a fresh start. All I needed was to fill in the emergency contact sheet. Mom naturally went first. Then I left the second slot blank because my stepdad has never answered my calls for help even once.
So your childhood villain wants a promotion to hero status overnight?
I tried to be civil. I agreed to attend a cousin wedding until my stepdad grabbed the phone and barked that I was selfish for not staying past midnight with a toddler. I skipped the party. Strike one. Weeks later, Mom babysat while I took a night class. When I called to check in, she slurred her words and my boy wailed in the background. I jogged there. She called me an unfit mother, and he stood behind her smirking. Strike two. By the time the nursery form reached her hands, she saw the message loud and clear. He was not on the list.
Honey, that is not a boundary. That is self-preservation.
Mom demanded I rewrite the form and name him or lose her forever. Her words burned, yet I felt something strangely light. I remembered 12-year-old me shivering on a doorstep and realized she was still waiting for someone to choose her. I told Mom the space stays blank. She hung up. The phone has been silent for days, but my son laughs in the kitchen, and the silence feels like oxygen. Maybe the next call will be an apology. Maybe it will be from the nursery telling me my boy scraped a knee. Either way, the voices that rush to help will be the ones I trust. A story from Beth, the Beth. He says his money is my salary, yet I have to beg. I was sorting receipts one rainy afternoon when my voice slipped out the truth that has haunted me for years. I do not have a salary. The word hung between us like a broken chandelier, shards of ego and fear glittering above the living room floor.
So you felt invisible the second the numbers stayed only in his wallet?
He stormed in from the office, sweat still on his collar, insisting his 6-figure income flowed through me the moment it hit the joint account. I countered that control is not partnership if I must text before groceries and log every penny like a servant. The argument spiraled until we both heard the ugly creak of something precious cracking.
What if his generosity is just velvet rope around your ankles?
Tonight I sit at my laptop copying links about financial abuse, napping secret savings, and picturing a dawn where I swipe my own card without asking. Whether that future is with him or without him remains the cliff I am about to climb. A story from Contemplating Cat_3.
I shielded the birthday cake from a tiny terror, and everyone turned on me. Picture a glittery living room, packed with relatives singing their hearts out, while a 2-year-old parks his high chair like a tiny general right next to a custom pastry that cost more than my entire monthly grocery bill. I thought nothing could spoil the moment.
I feel the tension already. How could anyone ignore that cake invasion?
Then, right on cue music, still ringing, the kid shoves both fists into the buttercream, scoops off sugar flowers, and starts licking, like an ice cream machine gone berserk. The parents beam, as if he discovered fire, while everyone else keeps clapping. So I breathe once, slide the cake 3 inches away, and pray he forgets it.
Let me guess, that 3-inch rescue was treated like you slapped grandma?
Exactly, the room erupted. The kid shrieked as if betrayed by his best friend. Every adult sprinted to comfort him, spooning germ-filled frosting straight onto his plate. While shooting daggers at me, someone hissed that I ruined the entire birthday, and now the family group chat is exploding with fire emojis pointed at my name. A story from Reno_potato. Jean shorts versus Beverly Wilshire. I bluffed my way to VIP suites. I thought my new IT job would be wires and coffee stains until the Friday our giant red-hot crisis client erupted. The chairwoman, a brilliant yet technology-allergic dragon, decided to flee to Los Angeles. With less than an hour of notice, I was shoved into a car, raced home for a toothbrush, and took the last coach seat on a 6-hour flight. My boss assured me jeans were fine, so I boarded wearing frayed cutoffs and a souvenir tee, blissfully ignorant of West Coast glamour politics. Through turbulence, I rehearsed how to placate a woman who fired people for pop-up ads, but the real drama waited on the ground. The moment I stepped off the plane, a driver held a placard with my name, frowned at my outfit, and warned the Beverly Wilshire might turn me away.
You must have felt like every security camera zoomed straight into that souvenir tee, as if it were a crime scene.
Not exactly panic, more a mischievous thrill. At the desk, the concierge peered over her polished granite perch, gave my sandals that tragic sigh, and asked whether I was there to drop off a package. I remembered Meryl Streep barking orders in Devil Wears Prada and decided to audition. I lifted my shoulders, let boredom drip from my voice, and announced I was the sole advance representative for Mrs. plus the famous surname my firm shielded. I asked whether her 2 suites, my room and the nanny room, were prepared so I could install mission-critical equipment before she landed. The woman blanched, rifled through her screen, confessed a previous guest had lingered, and I told her that would not do, asking what the hotel proposed to make things whole before the jet arrived, with no excuses accepted.
The concierge must have wished she could reboot herself.
She launched into frantic apology mode, produced bottled water as tribute, and somehow evicted the overstaying guest before dawn. She also slipped her personal cell number onto a notepad after I tossed a casual 20 across the marble with the air of a bored royal. By the time my boss swept in late, the suites sparkled, our gear hummed, and no one dared mention my beachwear when I strolled through the restaurant. I even called the clerk later to hunt down yesterday morning newspapers just to test the new humility. The Beverly Wilshire lobby kept its chandeliers, but its attitude adjusted. I learned confidence can masquerade as couture, and the hotel staff learned jean shorts are not a reliable wealth detector. A story from NCC 74656M. My wife reads my mind, and it's getting spooky. Picture a calm afternoon. I sprawl on our patio, pondering in absolute silence whether the faded metal furniture should be renewed, brown or black. The debate is purely internal. My lips are sealed, and my phone is untouched. Yet my wife steps outside, surveys the scene for 2 seconds, and casually declares that black will suit it best.
That feels beyond coincidence, girl, reading your mind, like she has earbuds plugged straight into your skull all day long.
I laugh it off until the next morning. We are dozing. She rolls out for a shower, and I quietly scroll garage sale listings. In my head, the beat from Macklemore pops, and I start mentally rapping, I am gonna pop some tags. Mid-verse, her voice echoes from behind the curtain, belting the exact same lyrics, same cadence, word perfect. She swears she never heard me. I had not even hummed. It is like she catches a broadcast only she can tune. Moments like this keep stacking up: furniture colors, television twists, even punchlines. I nearly think I adore it and it rattles me.
Could be micro expressions, not magic. People leak signals at lightning speed. Ever filmed yourself brainstorming silently?
Give it 10 more years, and we will sip tea on the porch without mouths moving, trading inner monologues and quoting old rap hooks for emphasis. Until then, I need to know if any other couples are wired this way, or if I married a superhero. A story from To the Saint. She told my partner I once liked her. Am I wrong for staying quiet? I used to think our little friend circle was harmless fun. Then along came Jay, bubbling with scarlet lip gloss confidence and an addiction to tasty gossip. She would toss compliments like confetti, lean too close, and declare half the guys adored her. Whenever one of us tried to joke that she had it wrong, she would flash that sly grin and ask if we were calling her unattractive. Soon, silence felt easier than proof.
She sounds exhausting. Did anyone ever call her out before she aimed that stunt?
Fast forward to game night at my place. G, my partner of 2 years, is sipping sangria when J, already tipsy, croons that I used to pine for her until G showed up. The room spins quiet. My throat locks. I've replayed that split second ever since. I weighed speaking up, but the memory of earlier tantrums flashed, and I pictured Jay turning my protest into a spotlight monologue. So I smiled tight and topped up the chips bowl.
Congratulations. You played peacekeeper and offered her free airtime. Was silence worth the fallout?
Now G keeps replaying that humiliation and asking why her boyfriend froze instead of defending their relationship. I get it. She feels J marked her territory on my confidence. I have one more talk scheduled with G tomorrow. If I do not find the right words, my polite silence could cost more than a night of awkward laughter. A story from Plastic-Doctor.
My mom's accusation shattered the love of my life. I was 21, waiting tables, when Elliot, the handsome, charitable regular, finally asked me out, after bringing in Christmas wish lists for foster kids. His kindness made me swoon, but I soon noticed that the 4-year-old daughter of his ex monopolized his calls and weekends.
So you felt benched while the kid got VIP treatment, right?
Exactly. I envied the bedtime songs he sang her over the phone and the hospital vigil when she broke her arm. I vented to Mom, who already thought a mid-20s man obsessed with kids signaled danger. Instead of calming her, I fed the fire by wondering out loud about hidden motives.
That doubt snowballed into an ugly accusation, didn't it?
Mom went to the police claiming he was a child predator. Elliot learned of it through officer friends and dumped me on the spot, vowing never to see either of us again. Now Mom remains on her crusade while I stand alone, hoping the damage is not permanent. A story from Direct-Caterpillar 77. I proved her nonverbal toddler talks and Mom exploded at the party. Running a licensed daycare out of my living room, I thought I knew every kid's quirks. But my best friend Krista handed me a contract for her 3-year-old Allie and left the special needs section blank. No mention of speech delay, no therapist schedule, nothing. I figured Allie was just shy until she began piping up during snack time with tiny jokes like blueberries are baby moons. Each day her vocabulary grew, yet Krista kept insisting her daughter was completely nonverbal, even scolding me when I celebrated Allie's "ew, you stinky" joke after she caught me mid-bathroom break.
Girl, as a mom, I'd cling to any sign of progress. Why is she shutting you down?
Frustrated yet wary, I set my phone on the counter during playtime and asked Allie to tell me her name and favorite animal. Clear as crystal, she chirped Allie, kitty cat. I planned to hand Krista the clip at pickup, but her earlier fury echoed in my head. When she breezed in, asked about Nathan snacks, and declared the issue water under the bridge, I chickened out. Weeks passed, the file slipped into digital dust. Then came her older kid's backyard birthday. Surrounded by barbecue smoke and cousins in party hats, I casually repeated Allie's kitty commentary. Krista's sister spun toward me like a siren, accusing me of inventing a miracle I knew was real.
So you skipped the olive branch stage and went for live evidence. Bold choice.
Cornered in front of 24 guests, I felt my ears burn. They called me liar, caregiver fraud. I fumbled out my phone, hit play, and Allie's tiny voice floated through the yard like a soap bubble. Silence. Then Krista's face hardened. She told me to leave immediately and labeled me creepy for recording her child. I drove home, replaying the scene, heart pounding. Did I defend a little girl's progress or just nuke a friendship and my own reputation? A story from obviously traumatized. Coworker outsmarts the office potluck queen with one bold salad. Every month, our remote staff drags to headquarters for an all-day meeting capped by a potluck. It was my favorite perk until Janice, self-crowned lunch czar, began singling me out in group emails with pricey recipe suggestions. This round, she demanded I provide enough chicken, strawberries, and candied walnuts for her dream salad, while she offered cheap cucumbers. I had already told her money was tight with weddings, a beach trip, and upcoming cruise payments.
That is nerve-ending. Did you push back or just swallow the cost?
I told her point blank the ingredients were out of budget. She mocked me by comparing it to my manicure habit. Steam poured from my ears, and I rummaged my pantry that night, uncovering chickpeas, sun-dried tomatoes, and olives. Light bulb moment. I whipped up a Mediterranean salad I love and she loathes, only spending $4 on fresh goat cheese.
Savage move. How did the office react when the aroma hit?
People raved, filling plates and asking for the recipe. Janice avoided the bowl like spoiled milk and went hungry when no one bowed to her demands. Word of the tension reached our laid-back boss, who axed potlucks altogether, choosing catering and reminding us Janice does not run the place. My budget is safe, morale is up, and the tiny tyrant lost her spotlight. A story from Choice_Evidence, 1983.
Chicken marsala sparks family sobriety meltdown. 4 years into sobriety, I have swapped shot glasses for sauté pans. When temptation whispers, I dice onions and let garlic sizzle. My latest obsession is velvety chicken marsala, the kind where a modest glug of cooking wine caramelizes mushrooms and makes the sauce sing. Friends rave, and cooking keeps my hands too busy to pour a drink.
That sounds delicious, but does letting wine near your stove ever rattle your serenity? I mean, even a whiff can be triggering, right?
Honestly, no. The alcohol mostly evaporates, and I measure down to the tablespoon. Still, during last weekend's family dinner, my sister poked at the chicken and asked whether I'd poured real wine. I explained it was grocery store cooking wine, barely drinkable, only good for sauces. Her face hardened. She claimed any alcohol in my house proved I was back on the bottle and told everyone I had deceived them for years. I stood there holding the serving spoon like a white flag that somehow offended her.
Sound like she wants a medal for policing sobriety. Did anyone remind her? Flame burns off booze faster than judgment burns off pride.
Mom backed me, but sis stormed out, yelling not to call until I was actually sober. Now the group chat demands a dry menu review. I have to decide whether to swap recipes or let the pot keep simmering. A story from Marsala Lover.
He found out I eat alone and lost it. My life runs on a split timetable. I clock out with the sun, and my husband clocks in when the moon rises. Because of that, our shared suppers only happen on rare shared days off, and our palates never match anyway. I crave global spice, and he worships burgers and shrimp. So a while back, I began a quiet ritual. Once or twice each month, I pick a spot he would politely refuse, bring a paperback, and treat myself to a lingering meal while he is elbow-deep in work.
Let me guess. When he found you in that Peruvian place, he saw more than plates. He saw a secret life.
I truly believed he knew. After every outing, I texted photos of the plates and described the sauces in detail. He always replied with thumbs-up emojis and asked if it was tasty. Last Friday, he finished shift early, called, and the background music gave me away. His voice flattened like a pan left on high heat. By the time I reached home, he was rigid at the table, asking how long I had been dining in without him knowing.
Sounds like hurt, not hunger. Maybe those solo tables remind him that you two pass like ships each evening.
Now we eat breakfast in frosty silence. I keep replaying the scene, wondering whether my simple wish to avoid dirty dishes and explore new flavors crossed a line I never saw. Is a table for one sometimes louder than any argument? A story from AITA Eating Out.
A viral video matches my girlfriend exactly. Is it her? 6 months ago, sprawled on the couch after midnight, I clicked a random link in a gossip chat and nearly choked on my energy drink. On screen, a woman tangled in sheets moved exactly like my girlfriend Lena does, right down to the tiny heart-shaped birthmark on her lower back. The clip was grainy, only 30 seconds, and her face never showed, but my gut screamed it was her.
Sweetheart, that kind of shock can make anyone see what they fear most. Could confirmation bias be tricking you?
I tried proving myself wrong. I opened every private video we ever made and lined them side by side. The way she tucks her hair behind her ear, the faint giggle at the second thrust, even the chipped pinky nail polish matched. Google reverse image, hash trackers, forum dives. Nothing led me to the source. When I confronted Lena, she stared me dead in the eye, swore on her late mother it was not her, then burst into tears because I would even question her.
Tears smears. People cry when they lie. Why not hire a digital forensics nerd to trace the upload and settle this?
That is my last card. If a deeper cut surfaces and her face finally flickers into view, I either owe her the biggest apology of my life, or I pack my bags and walk out on 6 years of love in a single heartbeat. A story from Chase Happy. My pregnant girlfriend overdosed. Can I save us? Nothing prepared me for the moment I nudged the apartment door open and saw Shelby half sprawled on the carpet, skin the color of old newspaper, belly swollen at 6 months, pill bottles glittering like cheap confetti around her. I dropped to my knees, fingers searching for a pulse, while my mind replayed every ignored text from earlier that day. Each one a flare I pretended was a sparkler. For a heartbeat, I pictured jail bars slamming shut on my future, a tiny coffin lowering into wet soil, and the taste of heroin back on my tongue. Then, I remembered the Narcan kit I no longer carried because I was trying to be someone new.
Your guilt could drown anyone, but did you forget that your own recovery is fragile too?
Fragile is generous. I lasted 30 sober days at out-of-state rehab. Came home to parents who scrubbed my vomit and still called me champion. Started a warehouse job to buy diapers I have never seen, and drew a hard line against moving back with Shelby until she accepted real help. She promised tomorrow like it was a lullaby. Instead, she swapped her pregnancy maintenance meds for whatever pills the dealer would trade for the abortion money we once set aside, then burned. Seeing her ghost face last night proved tomorrow is an empty pocket. The paramedic shoved naloxone. Her eyes fluttered, and somehow the obstetric team later whispered the baby heartbeat still thumped steady. Relief and horror wrestled inside me.
So what is your play before the next siren wails? Hero or escape artist?
I wish the answer were a slogan. Right now I'm standing outside her hospital door with paperwork for guardianship in one hand and a sobriety coin in the other. If she signs the papers, the baby can come home to my parents' place when he arrives. If she refuses, I face court and heartbreak. Either way, Sunrise will ask if I still love her or if I finally love our child more. A story from Upstairs Painting, 8822.
Hysterectomy ultimatum. Child-free marriage on the brink. I sat chilled on the exam table, wearing that scratchy paper gown, prepared to recite my familiar script of endometriosis misery and revolving birth control experiments, when the new doctor raised an eyebrow and casually offered what she called the definitive cure, a total hysterectomy that would whisk away my uterus, cervix, and both ovaries forever.
So she wants to scoop out half your organs like it is a car service?
Back home, I repeated the news and admitted I was scared of the knife and of waking up in surgical menopause. But my husband heard only the part where I did not shout yes. He spun on me, convinced my hesitation meant I secretly dream of baby showers and planned to betray our child-free vows, even after 13 spotless years of condoms, alarms, and double protection. The logic gap leaves me winded. I fear chronic pain, yet dread artificial hormones for the rest of my life, while he fears an imaginary crib, and every conversation ends with doors slammed instead of empathy.
Your body, your trauma. How is that hard for him to grasp?
Now I am weighing grinders of pain pills against months of recovery, reading medical journals at midnight, and wondering whether I can rescue both my health and my marriage. Because the next appointment is in 4 weeks, and whichever signature lands on that consent form might carve the rest of my life. A story from a previous Reddit user. I posed as dad to stop a creepy texter. Picture 15-year-old me basking in the glory of my first smartphone and brand new number when a stranger named Dan starts texting about touring some rural property. I politely say he has the wrong person. He thanks me. I smile. Life moves on until the pings return. Same number, same question, like deja vu in digital form. By the 5th intrusion, I invent a tragic backstory telling him the owner died and to stop contacting me. Spoiler, it changes nothing.
Let me guess, you finally weaponized teenage angst and cooked up something reckless?
Exactly. Recalling my stepmom's rant about harassment laws, I scrolled through every conversation, screenshotting his 8 relentless messages, plus my increasingly desperate replies. Then I typed in my sternest fake dad voice, "Cease texting my underage daughter or I will sue." I attached the receipts, hit send, and waited with sweaty palms for whatever lightning I had just called down. For extra drama, I dropped in a saintly emoji, the irony delicious.
Ooh, instant karma delivered with parental flair.
Silence. Seconds became hours, but his number never lit up again. I eventually lost that phone, yet to this day, I remember the sweet satisfaction of teenage me, repelling a pest with nothing but bluff screenshots and borrowed authority. A story from Molten Cult. He crossed the line in bed, and now I'm plotting my escape. I was 23 and virgin shy when I fell for him at school. He flashed swagger, promised to teach me everything, and my nerves melted into pure electricity. We sneaked off every chance we got, sometimes 4 or 5 marathons a day, texting trash while professors lectured. Even in that rush, I noticed he bailed on pleasuring me, saying my body was complex. Yet I convinced myself love meant compromise. Now a year has passed, and my appetite is normal at best, while his still rages.
When did that thrill start tasting rotten to you, dear?
Rot hit the night he clasped my head so I would not pull back. Finished. Then a hot stream of urine filled my mouth. He called it an accident and looked ashamed, so I swallowed my disgust along with my protest. Days later, it repeated, and when I refused to keep going, he sulked in silence until dawn. Add endless whining about condoms, 0 foreplay, and his sprint to the shower the second he finishes, and my desire has flatlined. His apologies flutter like used tissue.
Tell me why the locks are not already changed.
Yesterday, my therapist named it what it is: manipulation and abuse. So this weekend, while he works a double shift, I will slide clothes and documents into a suitcase, leave the apartment key on the counter, and step into fresh air before he can twist another apology around my throat. A story from _BF
Drunk confession. My girlfriend faked her politics to date me. Picture me 4 months deep into what felt like a flawless romance. Emily cheered every protest sign I painted, binge-watched satire with me, and nodded along to my heated rants about rights and equality. I truly believed I had found my political soulmate. Right up until last night, when half-price margaritas loosened her lips, and she blurted that she had copied all of it just to get a swipe right and a second date.
You must have felt the ground vanish under you in that moment.
I sat frozen while she cataloged the real Emily, anti-abortion, pro-Trump, uneasy with gay marriage. Then she said sharing apartments and playlists with me had chipped away those inherited opinions until she honestly agreed with most of mine. Her eyes shone with tears and tequila, pleading that the person I loved was finally real. Part of me wanted to hold her and celebrate the growth. Another part screamed that our entire origin story was fiction.
Sounds like the plot twist of an election season rom-com, But are you sure she's not just chasing approval with fresh paint?
So today we avoid eye contact over cold coffee, and I keep asking whether honesty can grow in soil that started as a lie. I might walk away, yet I worry this could be the rare storm that clears the sky for something stronger. A story from Mumkin Lee.
One wrong sentence turned his dream birthday into drama. After 4 years together, I wanted this birthday to crown our story. So I hunted the rare Monster Hunter figure from Japan, wrapped sports merch, handpicked a glass slide for his guitar, baked a layered mocha cake, and booked a candlelit table downtown.
All that, and you still dared the conversational minefield?
Work had frayed my nerves, but he seemed thrilled as we shared cake for breakfast. Then at dinner, talk drifted to tattoos, and I stupidly joked about the reunion day he ditched me with cousins while he inked his arm. He went silent, stone silent. Sounds like the joke reopened a bruise he never treated. By morning, he called the entire day miserable, and I'm stuck asking whether grand gestures count for nothing without flawless timing, or if two adults can talk through a slip instead of declaring a holiday ruined. A story from Worldly Valuables 7679. A sleepless friend arrived fast and shattered my idea of friendship. It is just after midnight, and fluorescent lights buzz above my father-in-law's bed, while alarms chirp like distant crickets. My husband realizes he forgot we drove here in my car and whispers that he has no way home. One sleepy call later, his best friend, who lives 40 miles away, promises he is coming. I expect an hour wait at least, but in what feels like a heartbeat, headlights slice the fog outside the lobby doors. That is cinematic loyalty. Did you feel grateful or painfully exposed by the contrast? I watched the two men laugh despite the late hour. Then his friend shoves the gear stick and disappears into the night again, meaning he will drive a full 2 hours round trip just so my husband can sleep in his own bed. The sight floods me with joy for them, yet also with a sting so sharp I taste metal. My own so-called best friend once skipped checking on me when rockets fell over our city, later excusing herself with newborn diapers and exhaustion.
Come on, everyone grows apart. Did you ever show up for her sunrise shifts the way this guy did here?
That question keeps echoing while I sit beside the IV pump. Maybe I clung so hard to one childhood bond that I never learned to nurture others. Now my tears are a promise to change. Before the next crisis hits, I will become the kind of friend who leaps out of bed at midnight, even if that means forging brand new friendships from scratch. A story from OK-Jellyfish 348. I paid off my brother's debt in secret. Will he ever find out? He was the family superstar. Straight A's, scholarships, and still wiring money back home. Yet I kept fielding midnight calls where he sobbed about drowning in $28,000 of student debt. Hearing his voice crack lit a fuse in me. I would end that nightmare, but he would never know it was me.
So you played secret billionaire, huh? Buying freedom like it was coffee money?
Pretty much. I shifted some lucky crypto profits, mailed a fat money order through a rented P.O. box, and instructed the servicer to list the payer only as benefactor. A month later, my brother FaceTimed me, waving a zero balance statement like it was a golden ticket. I bet his grin made your heart burst. Why not share the truth? It did, but the secret makes the gift purer. He now sleeps 8 hours, books weekend trips, even flirts instead of clocking double shifts. If I ever confess, it will be only to say you were never alone. But for now, his freedom is enough. A story from Muddling 89. Brother begged for dream cake, but his wedding left me in tears. Picture me on 3 hours of sleep, wrists throbbing, balancing 16 baked layers into a snow-white sage and gold tower gleaming like a magazine cover. This was my love letter to my 20-year-old kid brother, my wedding gift wrapped in buttercream.
But did he invest even 5 minutes checking the terrain for you?
Turns out his rustic fantasy venue sat on a hill steeper than a ski slope, with a single portable toilet lodged in a field of ruts. No ramp, no accessible stall, and the parking sign was just decor. Someone wedged their sedan halfway into my spot. I powered forward anyway because the entire family watched, cameras poised, while I stranded my wheels in gravel and sweated through my dress to salvage the photo op and the cake reveal.
My heart breaks hearing you had to ask strangers to close a bathroom door.
When the knife finally sliced through my masterpiece, I kissed a newlyweds, whispered we would be talking later, and rolled straight out of that nightmare, swearing the next cake he tastes will come with a bill and a side of hard truth. A story from Barista Hustle. Boyfriend's terrifying revenge threat shocks teenage girlfriend. I used to think the worst threat to my safety was my alcoholic father back home, until last night when the man I call my boyfriend pulled me close in the dark and casually announced he would destroy me with my own nude photos if I ever hurt him.
That is not love, honey. That is digital hostage taking. Did you see any sign of remorse in his eyes, or was he enjoying your fear?
His grin was half asleep, yet fully satisfied. He even opened his gallery and scrolled until the thumbnails of my body filled the screen, proof that the grenades were armed. I lay frozen, calculating whether begging or silence would keep me safer, while his breathing slowed into a peaceful snore.
Blackmail works only if the target stays within reach. Can you vanish and nuke those files before he notices?
I have until sunrise and a single bar of phone signal. My suitcase is always half-packed because danger has followed Null since childhood. This time, I need allies, screenshotted proof, and the courage to walk out before the next person who claims to love me hits send. A story from FroRA 3473893.
She discovered my late fiancé was a man. 4 years after a reckless driver stole my fiancé Evan, I asked Lisa to marry me, believing that if I kept Evan's gender locked away, I could finally move forward without forcing my grief into daylight. She knew I was bisexual. Surely that should have told her everything important, or so I convinced myself. Instead, I drifted through wedding planning on autopilot, haunting Instagram only to quietly delete old memories.
Did hiding Evan protect you, or just keep the wound open?
The silence shattered on a lazy Sunday when Lisa found my abandoned account and saw Evan's grin pressed against mine. Her shock morphed into questions that reduced my orientation to a puzzle piece she had missed. She admitted she had never taken my bisexuality seriously until the photos, asked me to explain why I loved him, begged for details to make the idea easier to accept. Farabee had warned me that bottling grief breeds panic, and it was right. Each answer tasted like betrayal of Evan and myself. I felt the room shrink, then I asked for space, and she left for the weekend.
When someone treats bisexuality like trivia, the wedding cake is already stale.
I ended the engagement, spent months with a therapist and a small army of friends, learning to let memories breathe instead of hiding them. Freedom felt lonely, but honest. I danced, traveled, laughed sober, and slowly let my best friend Mateo see the cracks. 7 months later, friendship slid into love that feels gentle and real because every truth is on the table. For the first time since the crash, I am not borrowing Evan's light. I am standing in my own, with someone who respects both past and future. A story from Choice_Evidence, 1983.
My lifelong best friend is about to learn I'm pregnant with his child. I was reorganizing my bathroom when 2 pregnancy tests I bought on a whim both flashed positive, and the ground shifted. The child I had written off for good had just been conceived with the only man who has seen my bad hair since the 90s.
You finally quit smoking, drop a few pounds, and boom, life hands you a baby.
Exactly, but between our cushy yet immovable jobs and the 3-hour drive, I keep hearing the tick of logistics. Daycare, whose city? What if he never wanted kids? And I am shoving a live grenade of responsibility into his lap.
Or maybe he's praying for that grenade and just lacks the nerve to pull.
Once the OB rules out another ectopic, I will either text a smiling ultrasound or drive over clutching it to my chest, because 25 years of trust is hanging by a single picture and time is running out. A story from Dismal Ad 8345. Best friend lets her husband target me at 2 a.m. I used to brag that Stevie and I were friendship soulmates. Her parents became my stand-in relatives. She stood beside me at my wedding, and I would have fought an army for her happiness. All that devotion pracked the night her husband Barry followed me into the kitchen, sucked ranch dressing off my finger without warning, and kissed me while the football game roared in the next room.
So the dude ignores personal space like checkout line spam. Did you swing back?
I froze, then warned Stevie the next day. She shrugged and said he is just like that. Years later, during a visit with my baby daughter, I woke at 2 a.m, found Barry naked in the hallway, and he lunged, saying he had always wanted me. I barricaded myself with my child, packed bags at dawn, and moved to our other friend Lainey's house, in tears.
That must feel like losing a sister twice, first to fear, then to silence.
I keep staring at my unanswered message, wondering if she will choose her marriage over our decade of memories. If she stays quiet, I will tell her parents everything and pray she sees that real love never demands sacrificing safety or friends. A story from Lada D. Bethany. Why did my husband fake a collapse after my C-section? I always pictured the delivery room as the moment my husband and I would become an unshakable team. Yet the very night our son arrived, I felt a crack forming. He pressed a grime-smeared jacket toward me, claiming he had fainted from sheer emotional overload on the icy walk home, while I lay numb from an emergency cesarean and 3 nights without sleep. I believed him. My heart hurt for him, and I kept believing all through the groggy blur of hospital monitors, first swaddle lessons, and the aching knowledge that I was somehow comforting the person who was supposed to comfort me.
Girl, my jaw is on the floor. You were stitched up and still played nurse to his feelings. Leave no detail out because I can already hear the audience yelling, "Where was his empathy?"
Back home, the script only worsened while I balanced a colicky infant, a burning incision, and hourly feedings. He worked short shifts, microwaved packaged meals, and listened to shows that championed the overlooked father. He would huff at my pregnancy pillow, grumble when I asked for water, and vent that society never asks how dads feel. I tried to keep bright, to keep us both afloat. I even insisted he take pride in small gestures, like holding the baby so I could shower. But under the smiles, I sensed a slow boil of resentment. One afternoon, 5 days since our son had been washed, he snapped that the kids smelled. I snapped back that he could give a bath. He stared at the faucet like it was rocket science, muttered that he did not know how, and looked hurt when I suggested he search it online. Nurses noticed his scowl at the clinic and began aiming questions only at me. I handled every appointment, lullaby and doctor note, while he sulked over the spotlight he thought he had lost. The confession came months later, during a gentle conversation about how alone I felt. He admitted he never fainted at all, only slipped on ice. He invented the story to recapture my attention because his friends kept chanting, "Support your wife," and he felt invisible. That night, I replayed every exhausted moment, thinking of the sympathy I had poured into a lie.
So his grand solution to feeling sidelined was tricking a surgery patient into pity talk about choosing ego over partner? That is next-level selfish.
Since that admission, he has shown genuine remorse. He warms bottles without complaint and sets alarms for midnight fusses. Yet a raw distrust fogs the room. I am already planning the next delivery with only my mother present, because I cannot divide attention between contractions, scalpel reminders, and a man who might whirl the spotlight back onto himself. I love him. I see the sweet worker he usually is. And I get that new fathers can drown in doubt. But trust is oxygen in a marriage, and his lie cut the line. He says he will earn it back. The question is, can he figure out that? True strength arrives quietly through service, not performance, before our family grows again. Or will I face the surgical lights alone, heartsick, but undistracted? A story from Salters.